This video will outline how the project prototype has been developed and how it came to be, along with other relevant information regarding the design process. Manufacturing. All of the laser cutting process was completed at Avondale School. A big thank you to Nigel Lynn and the TAS staff for allowing me to come to the school and use the facilities free of charge. Laser cutting is a process that usually costs at the University of Melbourne $1 per minute, and I spent over 6 hours using the laser cutter at Avondale School. I am very grateful for the opportunity to be able to use this service free of charge due to the immense cost of the cutting. Not only was time spent cutting, but also refining the design and the fit allowance each time until it was right, but then cutting out samples upon samples. This meant minuscule adjustments to the point of 0.02 of a millimeter each time, but the slightest adjustment meant that the design would be better and more refined each time. Several prototypes were cut in order to test the fit and see how the project was coming along. The design would work in some instances, and the typical 3mm custom wood was not always 3mm, so the leg template would need to be adjusted or sanded down to fit into the required finger joint. The necessary adjustments would need to be made and the files then adjusted to suit. This custom wood is 3mm thick, and I made the legs 3mm. This would correspond with the friction fit to the leg rail. As the 3mm friction fit is a small joint, it ensures accuracy for the leg of the chair. As the MDF is 3mm thick, the finger joint or halving joint means the maximum depth of 1.5mm. This means that the small scale prototype is able to be friction fit without snapping so easily. Many prototypes were made and broken during the process due to this small allowance provided, which was then adjusted to be stronger for the leg of the chair during the laser cutting process. Multiple legs and cross rails were cut and tested for strength. Extra leg rails were cut in case of snapping, providing this allowance was necessary due to the small vicinity available. A total of 8 small-scale prototypes were made, friction fit and fixed. This allowed for viewer discretion to provide various views for angle adjustment, height, length, spacing, and the tightness of the friction joint itself. As the scaled chair is only a small prototype, it does allow for viewing and the ability to be able to foresee what it would look like in a 1:1 scale. The development of the chair took place over time with small adjustments while using the laser cutter. It was highly advantageous to be able to use a laser cutter while adjusting and instantly cutting the difference between the initial cut and the adjusted cut. This helped the design process flow efficiently and provide instant feedback for my own developmental design process. Had I not had the opportunity to be able to access a laser cutter, this extremely accurate and minuscule adjustment process would have been much harder. Also, this process would have taken copious hours and I would have been doing it by hand. The development of the prototype was steady. The changes were made before accessing the laser cutter. Upon using it, I would find faults in my design flaws. These flaws were only to be spotted once they were cut out on physical material. The development process was majorly done on a laser cutter due to the instant feedback available and personal analysis of the design. This process allowed for the physical testing and accuracy of joint design to be able to be put into place. As it is only small, the size of it does allow the joinery to be able to fit in the prototype. Some of the designs were not tight and others were too tight to fit in. Some of the joints were cut on an angle to allow it to be tight, and once the leg rails join the cross rail, it clips in and is hard to undo. The laser cut development process allowed for the fitting of the joint to be to 0.0mm accuracy, criteria for success. This design has been developed over time and allowed for me to be able to come up with an original, unique design. Developing ideas is inspiring and provides a limitless amount of options for potential design ideas. This is just one. Is it sustainable? Yes. If it were made in the full scale out of Australian plywood that has been sourced from sustainable forests that are constantly replanted and cultivated effectively. Reflection. I enjoy the shape of my design of the Sunseeker chair and would have loved to have seen it in full scale, ready to be put into production and ready for sale at a shop such as IKEA. The Sunseeker has been a work of progress over the years through various projects, and I intend on putting this chair into a refined processing and production over time.